So if these people, right, are finding value, right, in positive confession, what they are confessing, what they are declaring, is pushing them, right, to the very thing they are declaring, then could it be that that thing is not just spiritual, right? Maybe it's something else, maybe it's science. And then I began to do research right there in that meeting, even though in church service, but I opened my phone, and I was searching, could this thing really be spiritual, right? Or is there something else? And I was amazed, right, when I found out that it's actually a nerve within the inner part of the human brain called the RAS, right? RAS, RAS, is reticular activating system, reticular. So something that simply activates things that you see per time, or things you notice per time, based on what you're focused on. So it means that as you're making positive declarations, your mind, right, or your thoughts are focused on a particular thing which you are declaring. Let's say, for example, you're declaring that, look, I shall be favored, right? God shall compass me round about with favor as with a shield. And you mean this, you're declaring this despite the obvious obstacles that may be there, but you choose to just continue making that positive declaration, right? As long as you stay in that state, right, and you discipline yourself, you repeat it. Now what will begin to happen next is that the RAS, right, which is in your brain, don't forget, will begin to highlight things, signals, signs that support what you are declaring. And so all of a sudden you begin to sense things that you can do to experience favor. You begin to sense a video that was shared on Facebook, and how that applying what that person is saying can actually help you experience favor. Right? So when I saw this, I thought, wow, this is actually very deep. And I continued in my research. We're supposed to have this discourse during last month's masterclass, but we skipped it because I really needed to take time to research on it, to know how best to communicate this. And this, I tell you, is the best time, right, to communicate this. So really, I found that that principle of declaring positive things, isn't just spiritual. It actually is part of our humanity. And that when God is making certain demands of us, is expecting us, to leverage on our humanity to maximize spiritual promises. That although the promises are spiritual, but we will not be able to experience it except we live the fullness of our humanity. I don't know if you got that, right? So all of these systems put together, the RAS, neuroplasticity, all of these things work together to help us live as a full man. There are dimensions of God we will never be able to experience except we are first fully a man. Except we are first fully a man. When we have control of our mind, both our unconscious, subconscious, and even conscious mind to its fullest. Because when you're saying you're walking in faith, that thing too is a mighty thing. It's a level you will get to that you begin to see possibilities everywhere, and all you'll be seeing is possibilities that although you are receiving a negative report, but no, you're not seeing it. Because even the Bible tells you, now you begin to find value in scriptures, right? It says we are not moved by what we see, but what is unseen. Look at that. What is unseen. So it means that there's a stage you can get to, right, when you align your mind to God's word and you focus on it, that you begin to see things that are unseen. So when doctor says you have this disease, you say, how can I have that? I've been healed by his stripes. I've been healed. Can't you see it? You'll be confusing the doctor because you know what you are seeing, and you're not pretending. It's not a guesswork. Is why the height of faith is not a guesswork. It's not something you assume that you know. It's actually an experience. You can see it. You are seeing what defiles the evidences, the obvious defined result that you're seeing within you. You are seeing it. Let's go on. We'll get there, by the way. So it's not just spiritual, it is actually neuroscience. It's a mental infrastructure that God has placed within us, that if we tap into it fully, we'll be able to do amazing wonders, exploit in this world. And so it became necessary that we study them. But studying the RAS alone would not help us do justice to that topic, because the RAS is part of a system in the mind, as well as neuroplasticity. So we cannot isolate that topic and begin to talk about the RAS if we don't talk about the various systems where these things work within. Systems such as the mind, right, which is man's operating system. The mind, I told you yesterday, has two levels. I don't want to go back into this. Number one is the conscious mind, and number two is the unconscious mind. These two, they work together. You are able to listen to me right now because your mind is engaging. You are thinking with it. You are making decisions with it. But you're not thinking. You're what is working on with you right now is not just your conscious mind, because as I'm speaking, there are words I'm using, right, that you're already familiar with. These words are stored deep in your unconscious, in the memory, and you don't have to start thinking of how to check the dictionary to understand every single word I'm using, because you have an unconscious mind. So it's one mind, right, but two levels: conscious mind, the thinker, the reasoner, the analyzer, and then the unconscious mind. There are words you may hear me speak that you may not understand. Your conscious mind will begin to analyze it while I speak. What does this mean? But there are words you also hear, you're familiar with, you just pass. So the unconscious mind is a passive part of your mind, while the conscious mind is the active part of the mind. So I wrote here, the conscious mind helps you make decisions. It makes you the part of the mind where you reason, analyze things, set goals, pay attention to things, and choose what to focus on. The unconscious mind is a deeper system that stores your beliefs, runs your habit, and the habit there I told you is created by another system called neuroplasticity. The unconscious mind controls emotions automatically. It manages patterns and behaviors and regulates automatic actions like walking, driving. Reacting. I gave you an instance that there are some of you who drive long distances now, routes you are familiar with. You don't have to. If are sometimes you're wondering that you've gotten to the office and you didn't even realize it. You don't have to check your mouth every time you want to put food in your mouth. You're already familiar with that system. That thing is stored in your unconscious, right? So the unconscious mind regulates automatic actions. You don't have to be conscious while eating again, right? Except you find rodents, inside your food, then your consciousness will now be activated. So the unconscious mind works fast, automatic, and without permission, which is very dangerous, right? Okay, so I showed you a iceberg yesterday, which is a perfect example of what the unconscious, the mind looks like. The top of it is the conscious mind, where the awareness goes on, the thinking, every other thing goes on, willpower, logic, and a short-term memory. The unconscious mind is where beliefs are stored. You don't see that, but that literally is what rules the body. It controls your body completely. You can be thinking of succeeding, and your programming, your unconscious mind is not in support of your thinking. Is why we must make our time, right, deliberately to train the unconscious mind, right? So I showed you how they work together. You set an alarm, that you want to wake up by 5 a.m. tomorrow, and then when the morning comes tomorrow and your alarm rings, right, your unconscious mind will respond based on what is already programmed in your unconscious mind. So if your mind is programmed for discipline, you would wake up. But if your programming is programmed for comfort, your mind is programmed for comfort, you will snooze the alarm and continue sleeping. And why you're thinking is because you feel tired. That feeling is also a mind thing. Because if they call you that there's fire burning in the next house, that sleep will disappear instantly. That tiredness, the way energy will surge within you. This thing should cause us to worry a little. And the things we sometimes call tiredness, we say you should go and read. You say, I'm feeling sleepy. If they call you your child is sick, will you still be feeling sleepy? That thing now, was it tiredness or a mind thing? I don't know if you are getting what I'm saying. Are we getting what I'm saying? So this is why we have to study this thing, because it has now become very important that many times we cheat ourselves without even knowing it. Without even knowing it. There's a programming that is controlling our lives. We think it's nature, yet it is not. It's just the programming we've allowed over the years. The mind is very powerful. Your results, I told you yesterday, are not controlled by intentions alone. No, they are controlled by the programming. You have to consciously program your mind. Your conscious mind may once change, but your unconscious mind would only want what is familiar with. And so it becomes your job to program your unconscious mind, right, to cooperate with your conscious thoughts. This is so important. So I told you yesterday how we program the unconscious mind. Number one, through repetition, right? You wake up early in the morning, right? Because you set your alarm to wake up by 5. And then when it was 5, it was tough. Your body was telling on you because your body is not familiar with that. Your programming, your mind, your conscious mind is not familiar with that. And so what do? Right? You push yourself. You wake up. You go and pour water on your face. That emotional torture you're giving to yourself. You are passing a message to your body, right? To your unconscious mind that, look, this thing is important to this body. And so when you repeat that the second day, you stand up again. The difficulty, that emotional torture you're giving yourself, right? Repetition, emotional experience, all of those things will help now to reprogram the unconscious mind. That by the 4th day or the 5th day, when the alarm rings by 5, even in fact, before the alarm rings by 5, you've already woken up. You've already woken up. It's why sometimes some things that we attribute to angels doing is not angels, it's just your mind working. You've trained your mind to wake up by that time already. It's now a programming. So before 5, it's already awake. If you now wake up before your alarm. And then you also use your environment to program the unconscious mind. It's amazing how your environment can program your unconscious mind. You think just how your environment is. Very important. Is why I told you I had to go and rent an apartment in a very high-rise environment, because I didn't like the way my mind was thinking by default because of where I am. Everybody here thinks I'm a celebrity and they are praising me, big man. I didn't like that. So let me go to where big people are so they can stop seeing me as a big man, so I can think forward. And so I also mentioned that authority figures also program our unconscious mind, the things they say to us. You know, our parents, our teachers, even culture, our pastors, prophets, apostles, because they are authority figures, we tend to receive the things they say to us without scrutiny. And God helps us if these things are wrong. You'll be living a life, right, by default, a default program, without knowing whether you are doing right or wrong. In fact, you'll even be arguing these things. And of course, past successes, right? And so I've also mentioned how change actually happens, right? Repeat repetition of new thoughts, consistent action, emotional reinforcement, new environment. I mentioned that already in the previous slide, right? A summary of that is the conscious mind sets direction while the unconscious mind runs the system, right? Setting direction without changing the system to support the direction would end in futility. Right? This is very key. And so we went on to the next system, which is the storage system. By the way, the storage system, which is the memory, is still part of the unconscious mind. In fact, it's still part of the conscious mind. The short-term memory is still a part of the conscious mind, right? I told you how the short-term memory works. But long-term memory is part of the unconscious mind, right? So I mentioned yesterday that information does not just enter and stay in your memory. It passes through 3 main stages. Number 1 is attention, which is the input stage, what comes to you, right? Number 2, from attention, it now decides if it's going to go into the short-term memory for temporary holding, right? And then if it's even go longer, to enter into, if it will stay longer and extend to the long-term memory. I mentioned to you that the attention phase decides what gets in the input phase. Before anything is stored at all, your brain asks, is this important, right? Is this important? And this is where RAS comes in, the attention phase, bringing things to your attention. So RAS both highlights that thing to see if it's something you are interested in, right? Number 1, RAS also asks if it's important to you. So RAS will check if this thing is boring while you're trying to engage at it. You are trying to read, but that information is not getting it, is boring. You are sleeping, right? RAS simply ignores it. Doesn't allow it to go to the next phase, which is temporary storage, or even the long-term memory. The RAS also checks this information, is it irrelevant to this guy? So how you treat information determines if the information will go to the next phase, which is the short-term memory or even the long-term memory. So if you're doing something and it feels boring, it won't be stored. It won't be stored. If you're doing something that feels relevant, it won't be stored. But if it's interesting, if it's emotional, if it's repeated, it's allowed into the memory, right? So your brain does not store everything it receives or encounters. It stores what feels important to you. And you have to be aware, because what is important to you may be nonsense. Maybe nonsense. I told you yesterday is why a person can have exam tomorrow and today is playing game or is joking around. And it's not as if he has read. And yet he's okay. He doesn't have any problem. You ask him a question, he's not bothered about it. It's good. He feels like he's not doing anything bad. Imagine how people's minds are wired. So we discussed that, I've discussed how things are transferred even to a long-term memory. Let's go on. We don't want to go back to this again because of time. How information becomes permanent. We discussed this. Why people forget things, right? One, because what they received, the information they received was not repeated, right? It had no emotional weight and was not meaningful to them, either or it was interrupted by distractions, right? You're taking a phone number from somebody, right? And while the person is calling the phone number to you, something else just jumped into your memory, or something just happens. You forget the number because you've not had the time to store it or repeat it, So forgetting is not failure. I mentioned this yesterday. It's just lack of reinforcement, right? You read for an exam and you didn't remember what you read. It doesn't mean you failed, Just go back and reinforce it. Read again. I gave that example also yesterday. All right. Now, down to the RAS. We discussed RAS 2 yesterday, and I told you clearly that the RAS controls 3 things, right? Number 1 is attention, the things that you pay attention to, or the things that now come to your attention, things you become aware of. It controls awareness. Number 2, it also controls goal achievement. The moment you set a goal, it begins to highlight things that support your goal. You begin to become aware of them, right? And number 3, it controls survival. Your RAS likes to keep you safe, or rather your brain likes to keep you safe, right? And then we discussed this, that the brain, the mind, right, the unconscious mind processes millions of bits of information per second, right? And only about 100 bits of this information, right, does the conscious mind actually processes. And so the way the RAS works, don't forget, RAS is reticular activating system. The RAS filters this massive data from the unconscious mind and decides what is important, right? And then it sends only the information that is important, that it feels is important to your conscious mind. And so a lot of things can be going on around you, and your mind is sensing them or is receiving them, light, sound, emotions. All of these things are coming at once, and your mind is very much aware unconsciously. But the only ones that comes to your conscious mind is the one that feels important to you. Take, for instance, right now, my kids are playing in the sitting room, right? I'm in my room, I'm studying, right? Right now, I can hear them playing, right? But my RAS is not bringing that to my attention, but I can hear. I know I can hear. Consciously now I can hear, right? But the moment they begin to cry, right, the RAS will bring that quickly to my attention. Look, this is important to you. You don't like them crying. So it brings it to my attention instantly that, look, they are now crying. So they are playing. The TV is probably on, right? I can hear some sounds in the background. I can hear my mother-in-law, talking to the kids or having a conversation on the phone, all this. I'm just trying to pay attention now to see what's happening, right? Consciously, right? But that, even without conscious awareness, right? I'm not focused on those things. I'm focused on what I am doing now. Yet I know everything happening in my background unconsciously, right? But my RAS will only bring the ones that are important to me to my consciousness per time. Are we together? So I also showed you how the RAS decides what to show you, right? It takes information, it takes instructions from what you focus on consciously. If you focus on fear or what could go wrong or being judged, your RAS will simply show you evidences of that everywhere. You know, an example of how the RAS works is you buy a new car, suddenly you start seeing it everywhere, right? It's not that the car just appeared after you bought your car. No, the car has always been there. It just came to your awareness afresh. Finish. You bought a new iPhone and suddenly you're seeing everybody using iPhones, and some people are even using models that are higher than your own. Does it mean they just bought their iPhones? No. iPhone and the need to know how iPhone operates and the models just came to your awareness, and so it has now become important that you know about the iPhone. Simple. That's what happened. The same way you want to succeed in life and you set goals. We talk about goal settings today and how the RAS controls goal setting, goal achievements, right? You want to achieve a goal. You want to build a business. You know, you want to read more books. You want to be serious with your life. The moment you decide to do this, your RAS will begin to highlight things that support that also, right? You learn a new word. You start hearing it everywhere all of a sudden. And in your mind, you were thinking when you learned a new word, it was just you who knew it. But just to leave your bedroom, you're hearing other people using the word. You're turning the TV on, and the movie is being used. The word is being used on the TV. You're wondering what's happening, right? They've always used the word. It's just that it didn't come to your awareness, even though you've always heard it. So, if you think the world is scary, right? You're a person who is negatively focused and you just believe the world is scary. You will not set clear goals because you think the world is scary. You only want to focus on problems. And the result of that is that you'll be seeing the dangers everywhere. You'll miss opportunities and you'll feel stuck. And a person who is positively focused, like you said yesterday, you have clear goals for your life. You will not worry about evil that may come. You focus on opportunities, right? You believe in yourself, and the result of that is that you'll be noticing opportunities. A person who believes that there are jobs in the land and job is not scarce, you'll be seeing job opportunities. But if you're a person who believes that there are no jobs anywhere, you will not see job anywhere. It's just society because you shut your RAS from getting a job completely. You shut your mind from seeing a job. A person who believes that nobody is ever good in this life, you will not see good people. So your RAS shows you what your RAS shows you, right, strengthens your belief. Remember, what it shows you is based on your focus in the first place. Now, we've discussed this yesterday, right? How RAS controls your attention, right? We don't want to go back there, right? So the things that you focus on per time, right? I told you that your RAS brings those things to your attention. A lot of things are happening in your background right now, but you're not paying attention to them because they are not your focus. They're not injuring your beliefs in any way. But the moment they begin to do that or begins to come into that circle, the RAS will highlight it and say, look, this thing is now getting to you. Attend to it fast. Like I told you, your RAS it doesn't care whether you are, it doesn't care about success or failure. It just responds to what you focus on per time. That's all. Or responds to your programming per time. How does the RAS decide what's important to you, right? To give attention. Number one, I told you, it uses three main signals. Number one is repetition, what you think about often. So you keep thinking about something every day. You want to succeed. If you're thinking about success, things to do, it will begin to give you signals everywhere, right? You're watching a TV show and all of a sudden you're seeing something you wouldn't have noticed before. But because now you're thinking about success and you've been thinking about that, you've reinforced that thought over and again. Now you are seeing signs. I'm sure these things we can relate to what I'm saying anyway, right? Number two, a signal that he also uses to decide what's important is emotion. right? Anything that feels important, the fear, excitement, your RAS will always bring those things to you, right? And of course, what you focus on, what you consciously pay attention to. I give you a number of examples, right? If you say nobody respects you, your RAS we are light every slight disrespect. You'll be seeing it because that's what you believe within you. That's your focus. And then because that's your focus, you most likely ignore moments of honor or appreciation. These things happen every day, right? So your reality confirms what you simply believe within you. And your eyes is not a problem, right? What you're seeing, the things you're seeing is not a problem. Your filter is, right? All right, so this is where we are. How RAS controls goal achievement. Wow, that was a long recap. How RAS controls goal achievement. So the things that you move towards. So once you set a clear goal, the RAS begins to do one of these three things. One or all of these three things. Number one, it begins to scan the environment for anything related to that goal. Number two, it brings those opportunities to your awareness. And number three, it ignores irrelevant distractions. It's why two people can be pushing towards something, and one who has a mind that is not relenting is not seeing obstacles. He wants to bid for that proposal, and his colleague is saying, no, are you not seeing that these things may happen? He's not seeing it. How will he see? The RAS is not bringing that into his awareness. It's only bringing it into your own awareness because you are seeing those things. Your focus is on those things. He has set a goal to succeed, and so everything that he's seeing is just for success. Even if he doesn't make it when he puts in the effort in those areas, doesn't really matter, but he's going to try. It's why it will be difficult for you to convince a person who has already set a goal and is serious with it, because he may not be seeing what you are seeing. This is an issue with also couples. Your husband has said he wants to do something and his mind is focused on it, and you're trying to convince him about some areas he may not be seeing. He's not seeing it. Right? Even for women too, your wife wants to do something, your husband is trying to convince, she's not seeing the thing. She's not seeing it. And no matter how much you explain it, except it becomes part of her goal or his goal, they may not see it. They may not see it. So I'm saying that I want to improve financially, and I'm setting a goal for myself that in the next 1 month, I want to gain financial intelligence. Now from that very moment I've set this goal, I'm serious with it. I'm focused on it. Everywhere that I look, I'll start seeing my outlook towards life will become different. I would go out before like a regular guy, not looking forward to anything that's touching financial intelligence. But now my outlook will now become different because my RAS is now bringing to my awareness everything and anything that has to do with financial intelligence. I will now be seeing it. It will come to my awareness. It will come to my awareness, which is, of course, is not left for me to give it attention, which is still part of RAS. So RAS, both awareness and attention happens in that system. So now suddenly I'm seeing a book in the bookshelf about financial intelligence. I'm seeing a training, a masterclass session online on Facebook or Instagram. I'm seeing all of these things. A business school I can go to. I'm hearing the conversation how a person said he went to a business school. Now I'm now being attentive to all of those things because of what I have now set to achieve. I don't even forgetting what I'm saying. It brings all those opportunities to your awareness. And it's not because those things just started happening. They've always been happening. It's just that it wasn't part of your goal yet. The moment it became your goal, then it started coming to your awareness. What I'm telling you in a nutshell is that stop waiting for the day that things will get better. Set a goal and be serious with it. Your RAS will start enlightening things that can help you succeed. Your RAS is not a guarantee for success. It doesn't compel success as a way, but it can support it. It's a support system. But you have to set the goal first. What are your goals for this year? What were your goals for this month? Don't tell me things are not working. What was your goal? It ignores irrelevant distractions. It ignores them really. It does not ignore all distractions, but only relevant ones. Irrelevant ones. I wanted to say more here. This ignores irrelevant distraction, but let me not say anything. Let me not say anything. So examples, I've said this already. You want to start a business, right? Suddenly you started noticing ideas everywhere. Because now you said you want to begin a business. You start noticing ideas. You'll be hearing useful conversations. You'll be seeing opportunities you ignored before. Not because they just appear all of a sudden, but because your RAS is now highlighting them. That's how the RAS works. This thing happens every day for us. Now, this is why most people fail here when it comes to the RAS, right? They say things like, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be dumb. I don't want to fail. Those things are not goals, right? Your RAS doesn't know what to do with this kind of information. I don't want to be broke. It doesn't know what to do with it, right? Clarity is a language your brain understands. You have to be clear. I want to become more financially intelligent. I want to become more financially responsible. Wow, that's clear. I don't want to be broke. No. It doesn't understand. But it's not going to be asking you what you mean. No, it's not going to ask you. That's not his job. His job is to begin to highlight things based on your focus or belief. That's all. Your RAS needs clear direction, positive instruction. So let's see a few examples. So a guy says for months, he's been saying for several months, there are no jobs anywhere, and because of that, it doesn't see openings, job openings. Even when they send it to his WhatsApp group where he's a part of, he will not see it. He will not see it. Even when he opens it and he's seeing that the thing is talking about vacancy, he will not just see it. Because in his mind, he believes that there are no jobs anywhere. He will ignore opportunities, I tell you. You'll be amazed how these things have been affecting our lives when you start paying attention to them now. Just because there was no goal. Let me give you a hack right here. If you're looking for a job, a better job, set a goal. Set a goal that in 2 months' time, you must get a better job. Then be serious with it, right? Read books, enroll for courses, go out, send CVs, just keep pushing every day. Every day, you'll be amazed before the end of 2 months, you would have gotten your job. I'm telling you. We lay back too easily. That's why we don't get these things working. So if such a person changes, right, he decides, okay, I'll get a job within 30 days. Suddenly he hears about every opening from friends, notices job posts he ignored before. He starts networking intentionally. Same environment, right, but different awareness. The opportunities never increase, or maybe it might increase, but it didn't increase. His focus just did. How about business ideas? You want to start a business. Before that decision, everything looked normals, no ideas, no inspiration, because there was no goal to begin a business. But after you decided to begin your own business, every problem now looks like a business. I don't know if you've experienced what I'm saying now. The day you said you want to begin a business, it's the day that you started seeing business everywhere. Everything became a business for you. You're having a conversation, became a business. You're thinking, I can turn this into a business, right? Every conversation sounds like opportunity. Every successful person becomes a case study. This person, how did you succeed? Let me see. When you set a goal, your brain turns the world into your raw material. When you set a goal, your brain will turn the world into your raw material. This is how the RAS works. The world becomes your raw material because there's a goal. And so everything around you begins to work for that goal. This thing is not spiritual, it's neuroscience. And then how about the lady who says, I want to become fit? Right? But before then, she notices junk food advertisement, she skips workouts, she feels unmotivated. But after that commitment of wanting to be fit, she'll start noticing healthy options. She'll be seeing people exercising, she'll feel drawn to that movement. Our environment didn't necessarily change, but our RAS changed what stood out. It's important we set goals. If you've not been a person who sets goals before, please, that's a very terrible habit, I tell you. Set goals for everything, so that your RAS can be supporting you. Some of your RAS is working on the negative, because you're not setting positive goals. It's dormant. You are quick to say what you don't want to, and what you don't want to is not an information that the RAS can work with. I feel sleepy when I read. It's not an information. That information is not useful to your RAS. I don't know how to comprehend knowledge from a book. That information is not useful to your RAS. I remember when I began to coach people on social media and growth, all of a sudden, I, who has been on social media for years, right, I started noticing every video and started observing content structures, started noticing hooks within content, captions, patterns, right? So every video I watch now, that became something to learn from. The same app, but a different brain. The same app, but a different brain. The same app, but a different brain. One of the things I was talking about during our last training on social media and growth, right? That when you watch these videos, don't just watch to laugh, also learn something from it, right? Learn something from it. See what was their hook there? How did they use their call to action? What value did this content give? Why did it generate so much views? So laugh with the content, that's fine, but learn from it. That's how I watch videos now. But before then, I was just watching casually and wasting data. But the moment I focused, I was working on becoming a coach in that area. I started watching those videos differently. Why? Because my RAS began to highlight them. These things have always been there. They've been there for years. People have been doing those things for years. But I only began to notice them because I had now set a goal for myself. Is there a negative goal? Right? To your RAS, there is no negative or positive goal, right? Just that there are information it cannot use because there's nothing to show you, right? But just because there's nothing to show you does not mean that a negative character cannot become an habit, right? The way the RAS works is for attention, awareness, right? But then just because it passes the stage of RAS and is not actually working there does not mean it cannot go into the brain and become a strong neural pathway that now becomes an habit that destroys life, right? So we'll talk about that. It's why my focus is actually on RAS and not neuroplasticity, but we'll talk about that. How about a relationship? You say you want to build a healthy relationship, right? But before that time, you were attracted to drama. Every small thing you want to argue, you want to fight, you ignored red flags, even in relationships, right? Because you didn't really mind, right? You repeat toxic patterns, right? You keep dating the same kind of people who cause you to lose yourself. But now that you want to build a healthy relationship, you start noticing emotional maturity. You value peace over chaos. You'll be paying attention to character, right? So same dating pool, but different selection, because now your mind is focused on something. And so your brain, your RAS, is highlighting those signs that, look, this is a red flag right here. So ideally, we don't actually find better people. We only start recognizing them, because they are everywhere. It's just that we don't have to recognize them yet, because there is no goal. There is no goal. Don't just go and start dating. Set a goal for yourself first. So this is the core pattern. In every example we gave just now, there was a clear goal defined. And once a clear goal is defined, the RAS starts filtering reality based on the clear goal. Then you begin to see relevant opportunities. They become visible, right? And then actions become easier and more aligned, because you are now getting opportunities or highlights at an alignment with what your goal is. So your brain is always scanning your environment, but your goal decides what it reveals. Men and brethren, we're going on to number 3, how the RAS controls survival. Somebody is asking, so RAS is age related? No way. None of them are age related. Even at old age, the both of them still work. As long as the brain is active, or the human is active, both of them are still working. They are systems of the mind. If the mind is still working, they are still working, right? They use the RAS to help people who have anxiety disorder, even in old age. They use neuroplasticity to help people who are aged and they have fractures, in their bone. They help them also heal. So they find out that people who are old and have fractures can still heal from their bone issue if they practice this process. So that's that. Let's go on. How RAS controls survival. I told you 3 things that RAS controls. Number 1 is attention, awareness. Number 2 is the one we just finished now, right? It controls goal achievement, right? And number 3, the RAS controls survival. The RAS controls survival, right? Let's go on. So the RAS does not just help you notice things, as we've read so far, or said so far, or learned so far. It constantly answers one question: is this safe, or is it dangerous? Because it wants to keep you safe, right? But the problem is, it uses your past focus and beliefs to decide what is safe or what is dangerous. So if your belief is the world is dangerous, the RAS will highlight risk. You start seeing risk everywhere. You see why you should not enter a public transport, because just yesterday somebody was reported to have been mobbed in a public mass transit, and so now you want to trek to your office just because you'll be safer that way. Imagine how the brain thinks. Where then is a place of faith? Where then is a place of self-defense? So imagine trekking to the office just because your brain is not telling you that, look, it's not safe to enter a bus anymore. So it's highlighting that that's risky. It's risky. It's risky to enter a bus. Or you can enter an Uber, to go for a meeting, a beautiful car, but you decide to enter a bus because you heard in news that Uber riders were doing mischievous things to Their rider, their what do you call them again? Their passengers, you know. So when you believe the world is dangerous, your RAS will highlight risk, it amplify your fears, and to avoid new experiences. And so although it keeps you safe, you will stay safe, but then you will stay stuck. So many people are stuck in life without even knowing it. Now start thinking about this. Think about this. Could it be that your playing safe is actually keeping you stuck? Think about it. Because you'll be surprised. You're the only one thinking the way you are thinking. Every other person has moved on. And you think that thing is spiritual problem. It's not, it's just your mind. It's your mind you need to reprogram. Okay, well, maybe there's a spiritual dimension of it. Maybe a stronghold is now enforcing something, right? We don't know, but for sure, you can deal with the mind first. That is, from the mind, you now know if there's a spiritual problem, right? So don't allow me to downplay spiritual problems, please. Are we together? Drugs can damage your RAS. No, when you say drug, do you mean hard drugs? Of course, hard drugs can become habitual, and something that has become habitual, right? Has now strengthened the pathway within your brain, and once it becomes habitual, it becomes your focus. And once that becomes your focus, the only thing your RAS will be highlighting for you is how to take drugs. Finish. So it's nothing can destroy the RAS. You have to understand it's part of the system. So it's looking as though that's the only thing your RAS is focused on, because that's what you're focused on, right? So if your belief is I can handle challenges, right, your RAS will highlight opportunities also, right, reduce perceived threats and encourage action. So your RAS can both encourage you and it can discourage you based on what you have programmed within you. So let's see a few examples and move on, right? So you send an SMS, a text message, or a WhatsApp message to somebody, and they don't reply for hours. So if your internal belief is set to people ignore me or I'm not valued, that's an internal belief, right? Your RAS will begin to highlight things like, oh, they've seen it, or she has seen it, or he has seen it, and he ignored me, right? They've seen it and ignored me. I'm sure this has happened to many of us. You send a message to somebody and for hours there was no reply. Maybe this is the person you have affection for. Then you begin to make assumptions in your mind. Oh, this person does not value me, right? But maybe it's not so. You're thinking you've offended the person or something is wrong. But maybe nothing has to be wrong. Your body will begin to react as though there's danger, but in reality, they might be busy, really. Or maybe their phone died. Maybe they just forgot. Innocently forgetting, The danger in that situation was not in the silence. The danger was in your interpretation. That thing is your RAS at work. And then for some of you, you now begin to make decisions from there because it has to keep you safe. You now say, I will never text them again. In fact, for some of you, you go as far as blocking the number because you have to feel safe. Your RAS keeps you safe. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. That action, the reason why you block that person's number or you decide to stop texting that person is because your brain wants to keep you safe. That's RAS in action. Do you understand what I'm saying? All right, how about opportunities, right? Somebody suggests to you to start your own business, right? Or apply for a senior role or another role in your office, But instead of getting excited or feeling elated, you feel fear instead, you feel resistance, you feel rejection. Why do you feel that way? Because your RAS has learned in the past that a new experience, right, may feel unsafe. Maybe because you've had this as a programming somewhere, maybe an experience your parents had or a close friend had, who tried to do something new, maybe who tried to begin a new business or shift into a new business from what he was doing or she was doing, and then things failed, and became really bad. Now this has become a programming for you without knowing. And so, with this in mind, every time you hear the word bid for a new project, or you hear the word bid for a new role, or begin a new business, or start your own business, your mind skips. Your mind skips that no, don't do that, because it's unsafe. So it highlights things like, what if I feel like somebody? It may not really point out like that person, but it will ask, what if I feel? But deep down, it's like somebody, or maybe your previous failure. Are we together? Yes, RAS is hardware and neurotransmitters as softwares. Yes, because the RAS is actually physical. It's a nerve um, attached to your inner brain, right? So what if I fail? What if I lose money? What will people say? So in reality, it's not actually danger. It's just unfamiliarity with the terrain that you're going into, which is not a bad thing. We should all try new things. So you have to be aware that in reality now, your brain is not stopping you from danger. It is stopping you from change. Because it may not really be danger. It's just a programming that's making it feel so. So question your fears. Question your worry. Question the resistances you feel. Question them. Don't be quick to say, oh yes, I don't feel safe. Do you really don't feel safe? Or it's just a programming? I feel some way. The feeling, is it real? Or is the programming? How about when somebody says you increase your price for your product, right? Or they tell you ask for a raise, or just a talk about money generally, right? Every talk about money, you just feel uncomfortable, afraid, because you probably grew up with the mindset that money causes problem. And so even though you know you deserve more, you don't want to talk about it because money causes problem. And so many people are broke financially because they are overprotected mentally. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. And I think somehow I may be falling into this trap because I find myself charging extremely low, for courses I know are really expensive, right? Because maybe sometimes I feel that people that I coach may not be able to afford it, right? And for the other hand too, I feel like I hold them the responsibility to help them step up by all means, and make them see that these things out there are really expensive, and I'm not doing you justice because I'm not the only um person that you need to listen to in a lifetime. There are people out there who are doing great stuffs, who you must pay to participate in their programs. And if I keep giving you free access, I'm not even helping you in the first place. So maybe I need to also work on this part for myself. So I'm thinking about it too, just as we're having this conversation. So if I increase the price of my master classes, what if people don't attend again? What if I lose those who are joining right now? What if there's conflict? And so I will stay underpaid, not because of reality, but because my brain flagged financial growth as danger. Look at that. Meanwhile, there are people out there who are looking for that version of me. Do you know there are people who will not attend my classes because of the rates now? They feel it's too cheap. So they will think they will not get value. I'm telling you, there are people who did not read my book for years, only to just stumble on it coincidentally. And they're like, wow, you mean you wrote this stuff for free? They did not believe it. Somebody read my book one day. After reading the book, he sent me what would have been the cost of the book times 10. I'm telling you, he got the book for free, but he said it's not possible that you read that kind of book for free. He sends the money for the book times 10. One book. So there are people like that. And I know this thing. I know now by learning that, look, that thought, now I now have to work on it. And when I take that step also, I expect a lot of you to now step up. Right? Those people who are thinking like that, not everybody, people who are thinking like that, you step up too, because we have to go there. We have to go there. So there will always be people up there who are ready to receive you at your level of growth per time. But we have to work on this, our mind. So you see, I'm not just teaching to transfer as passions, as it were. I'm also finding myself in this whole thing. That I'm also guilty of this programming. I have to work on it. I have to work on it. Free things are good. I still do free stuffs. When something is valuable, let people pay the cost for it and experience that's which you have paid for. In fact, there are courses you pay for, you won't get as much value that you're getting now. If I ask all of you to rate this course, let me give you room to rate it. Right? On a scale of $100 to $200, how much would you be willing to pay for this course? Don't forget, it's a 3-day course. Just put it in the comment section quickly. Glory to God. Doctor says 200. Doctor, you want to cut some people's neck? Now, but look at my mentality now. Can you see my mentality? Now I'm now thinking that 200 is even too much for some people, but that's not the truth. It's not the truth. People pay thousands of dollars to attend a 1-hour meeting. 1-hour meeting. I'm telling you. But look at that, $200. That's Dr. Tapuwa, double-boarded infectious disease control doctor. She's all the way in the US. She has an idea of how much they pay for courses there for 1 hour. So tell me why I will not upgrade and work on my programming. Because there are people who want this value out there. Just in case you're in my shoe today, maybe this is also your message. Consciously increase your value. Don't be afraid. I can't forget when I used to do graphic designing. I was doing it for free. And churches everywhere will be consulting me. Look, Anslem, design this for us, And I was doing that for free until one day when the demands became so much, I thought, look, I think the only way to control this demand is to put a fee. Do you know that when I put a fee, about 90% of these people who I was working for stopped patronizing me. Only 10% remained. It was when I started receiving money that I knew that my job was substandard. And so the need to now upgrade in my skill now beckoned. So you won't even know how much you need to improve as long as you keep doing things free or cheap. That feels like somebody's word right there. Go to the bigger market. Upscale. Charge the big. Find out how much they charge for people within your niche. And have the audacity to do the same thing. Attend their classes, attend their meetings, find out their services, have a taste, buy it. I saw a shirt, a sleeve shirt, this shirt to wear on suits. Somebody brought it to me and was saying it was 120,000 naira. That would be about let's say a little bit, almost $100 for perspective. No, it's not up to maybe about $90, $95 in perspective. I said buying a shirt for $90, that's actually a lot of money in Nigeria, but it just speaks of the quality. I know that there are more expensive shirts, by the way, right? There are shirts as much as $300, $500, but that was a lot of money, And so I went to my stylist. I said, look, this shirt, people are buying for this amount of money. And I believe we can even do better. So let's go and buy one of it, and produce our own and begin to sell. Even if we will not sell 120, at least we can sell 80, we can sell 70 and make good money from it. Instead of making shirts of 20,000, 15,000, and then we are proud of it. No, let's look at the pattern and begin to sell. Look at that. Look at that thinking. Look at that thinking. Are we together? All right. So this also works for past hurts. You were hurt in your past relationship. Now someone new comes into your life, and then it does something that feels familiar, right? And suddenly your brain will tell you, be careful. Be careful. Don't trust too much. Protect yourself. In fact, you even tell the person, look, my ex did this to me. And then you're offending the person who is totally innocent, who had no intention of hurting you. That thing is brought to your mind by the Raz. It's the Raz. See how much the Raz has been doing in our lives and we're not even aware of it. And so you hold back, you sabotage connections, not because the person is dangerous, but because your brain is trying to prevent old pain. It keeps you safe, don't forget. So your brain protects you from yesterday, even when today is different. I think you should write that one down somewhere. Your brain protects you from yesterday, even when today is different. How about the fear of public speaking? You have a strong message, you have a strong calling, you have a good voice. Whenever it's time to speak, maybe because of your past experiences, right? You wonder if you would embarrass yourself, or if people would not hear what you're saying, right? Or what if people reject you? But in reality, people are looking forward to hearing you. This thing has happened to me many times. I'll be called to speak, and even though I'm ready, to speak, I'm prepared. But when I get there, I'm always unsettled at first. But I had to think through it one day. I said, look, these people, are they there to judge me or to listen to me? And when it occurred to me that they were actually there to listen to me, I stopped. And so even if it means picking my words little by little, just to ensure they hear the value I have to give, I'm good with that. I don't have to rush anything. They will not waste their time, leave their house or their offices and come to a meeting just to come and judge me. Why? They're there to get value. And so my job is to make sure I communicate value. So I have to teach my brain that. So this is the core pattern. If something is new, uncertain, or important, your RAS, of course, checks your past programming. If it doesn't match safe, it triggers fear, it triggers doubt, it triggers hesitation, right? You've tried to relocate to another country before and you were scammed, right? And now, even though you want to travel again, your brain is restraining you, right, from even making any effort because of your past experience. And maybe just the person who wants to do it for you now is a good person, but you never probably will not give him a chance because of your past experience. That's your RAS at work. That's your RAS at work. So write this down too. Your brain is not designed to make you successful. It is designed to keep you safe as far as the RAS is concerned. And if you do not retrain it, it will call your next level danger. Write that one down. If you don't retrain your brain or reprogram your unconscious mind, your brain, your RAS, can call your next level danger. Danger, danger, danger. That's your money going. Or your spouse going. But you call it danger. So this is how it all connects. You focus on something consciously from your unconscious mind. Your RAS filters reality based on that focus. You begin to see matching evidences. right? And then because you're seeing matching evidences, that will reinforce your belief. That your belief now drives your actions. Your actions produce the result you see in your life, and the results confirm what you're focusing on. So this is not hard anymore. Check the results in your life right now. The results in your life right now just reveals what your focus is. Finish. 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 So your action produces results. Your beliefs drives your action. So question your actions by your beliefs. Question your beliefs by what you are reinforcing. Question what you are reinforcing by what you are seeing. The evidences you're seeing from your RAS. And question your RAS from your focus. If I were you, I'd have done a screenshot of this. Quickly. Or should I move? Have you done it? Can I move? Okay, you've done it. Great. You've done it. Glory. Yes, your RAS can call your next level danger. Now, let's do some practical activations. So if you want to use the RAS intentionally, you have to give your brain clear instructions. I've said this. So don't say things like I don't want failure, right? Say things like I am building a successful business. Number two, use repetition. Number one, give your brain clear instruction. Clear instruction. Always give your brain clear instruction. Number two, use repetition. Daily declarations, visual reminders. I have this paper pin post on my walls in my room and even in my office that reminds me of things that I have to become and things that I have to do and things I believe in. I declare them whenever I cite them. Visual reminders. Let them be on your site so you can easily see them. Then of course written goals so you don't forget any. Right? If you can do these two things, then your RAS would always work to your advantage. Repetition is what it calls to programming, and that's the process I would call neuroplasticity. Number three, add emotions. Add emotions. I'm showing you how to activate your RAS and make it work for you every time. Number one, I told you very clearly, give your brain clear instructions. Number two, I said use repetitions. Number three, add emotion. Your RAS prioritizes fear, excitement, desire. So try to feel what you are saying or feel what you are thinking. That's an art. You can learn it. You can learn to feel what you are saying so it can be stored easily, right? And then begin to highlight things based on that. Number four, you want to control your dominant focus. You must ask yourself daily, what am I training my brain to see? Now, it's important to also note, right? Because now you hear this and think that so just by thinking positive, I was speaking positive, my life changes. That's true, but it's not complete. The RAS shows you opportunities, but you must still act on them. You must reinforce that, and that's when the neuroplasticity comes in. In fact, a lot of other things come in the picture, right? Psychology, dopamine, all of these things are things that you can now go and read up on your own. I'm not going to talk about that today, but then reinforcing what RAS shows you is what we call neuroplasticity, and that is what wires your brain, that can now secure success. So your RAS is not creating your future, it is selecting which version of reality you are allowed to see. Now, let's go. The spiritual system. I want to use the next 29 minutes to touch this. We may not even get 29 minutes, right? We'll touch this, and I believe that will be it. We can actually talk about the last one too. What RAS shows you your neuroplasticity. Yeah, so RAS shows you use neuroplasticity to enforce it. Yes. So the spiritual system. Now let's move on. The RAS plus faith. Faith does not ignore the mind. Faith does not ignore the mind. You should write this down somewhere. Faith is not an absence of the mind, like many people say, or many believers tend to believe, or even many preachers. It simply directs the mind, right, to something God has promised or something God is doing. The mind can interact with spiritual principles. Don't forget that man is first a spirit. The man can interact with spiritual things. So everywhere you read in scripture, you now be seeing the mind, the mind. For example, Proverbs 23 verse 7, it says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So if a man is thinking favor in his heart is fixed on favor. His heart is fixed on God's mercy and grace and abundance. What do you think that man will be seeing everywhere? Answer, respond quickly. We have to go. If you don't respond fast, we'll be here till 11 o'clock. Respond. If a man is thinking favor, a man is thinking increase, opportunity, prosperity that God has promised him, what do you think the rise of that man, right, will be highlighting for him everywhere he goes, everywhere he turns? Come on, respond. Chat in the chat section. Rise will highlight opportunities. Beautiful. Yeah, this is a scripture. It's telling you as a man thinketh. Did you see the word think there? Mind, neuroscience, and faith. So this is why I said it's not a spiritual principle. However, they work together. Romans 12 and verse 2. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Did you see that again? Be transformed. Everything you have been studying since now, what we have having a conversation we'll be having. Are you not seeing, right, that we be transformed by renewing our mind or by retraining our mind? Right? Be transformed. Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the retraining of your mind. The word renewing there can be retraining. Be transformed by the retraining of your mind. The same way you train your mind, retrain your mind to be mentally discerning and capable, you can also retrain your mind to adapt to spiritual principles. If it is not true that faith works with the mind, this scripture will not be there in the Bible. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You can train your mind to work with spiritual things, work with spiritual principles. You can so train your mind that your mind begins to see favor and mercy everywhere, and prosperity and increase and wonders and glory everywhere because you've trained it. That's how I trained my mind till I encountered the Holy Ghost. I trained my mind. I was so focused on him. Then I met him. I trained my mind. It's a mind thing. It's a mind thing. So faith gives instruction. The RAS follows what you focus on. So the word of God says this. Your RAS focuses on that which you are focused on. Or the RAS gives you highlights opportunities and based on what you focus on. God gives you vision. He gives you his word. He gives you instruction. But your brain must focus on it. Your brain must repeat it, neuroplasticity. Your brain must internalize it, storage. Oh my God. Now, this is going to turn to like a sermon. I don't know. I'm trying to restrain myself. Look at that. Are you seeing how the mind needs to be in partnership with God for us to live our best here on earth and manifest spiritual realities? Look at that. Look at that. So it's not enough for God to give you a vision or to give you his word or to give you instruction. You have to focus on it before your RAS will not begin to highlight opportunities. So when God says go and begin a business, right? You don't begin by giving God excuses. No, you begin by giving God your focus. Give that vision your focus. Because while in that focus, you begin to see all the provisions that God has made. That thing you are seeing, that thing is a RAS at work. Oh my God. Shaka. This is a masterclass. This is a masterclass. This is a masterclass. Your brain must focus on it. Your brain must focus on God's word. So you find scriptures like Proverbs chapter 4, verse 20. My son, attend to my word. Keep them in the midst of your heart. Let's not depart from your eyes, for their life to them that find it, and health to their flesh. Not sure if I'm misplacing it. Right? They are health to those who find their life to their flesh. Yes, that's how he puts it. Attend to my word. Let not depart from thy heart, thy eyes. Keep them in the midst of thy heart. Keep them. Focus on them. It should not depart. Repeat it. Internalize it. It's telling you that this thing has to do with your mind. If you remove your mind from the equation, it won't work. It's why God's word and God's visions and God's instructions are not working for many Christians, because you don't understand the place of responsibility, which is their mind. So God told Moses told Joshua 1 and verse 8, very clear instruction. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy, but thou shalt meditate day and night, for in it you shall find how to make your ways prosperous. You shall have to do, and then you shall have good success. Meditate. That's your meditation. You will not be finding, you'll be seeing. It will be coming to your awareness. So that tomorrow when we say, when you wake up every day, be saying you are blessed. Be saying God loves you. We're not saying something that is not possible. We are saying something that is attached to your humanity. We are saying something that is attached to your human nature, something that God puts there by himself. If you remove your humanity, you cannot really fulfill God's purposes for your life. I tell you this thing. Now I'm preaching, forgive me, but I think it has to go that route. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. It was not supposed to be a preaching. Are we together now? Whoever told us that faith doesn't work with the mind, it's because we didn't know how it works. You have to repeat it. You have to internalize it. You have to focus on it. It should not depart from thy mind. You will start seeing it. You'll be amazed. It's a cooperation, divine instruction plus human attention. Very important. So when God says you are blessed and your focus is I am lacking, your eyes will only filter evidence of lack. There's no two way around it. God is saying you are blessed. In fact, you read it in the morning from scriptures that you are blessed, but your mind, your programming is saying you are lacking. The only thing you'll be seeing everywhere is lack. See how your mind can be an hindrance to what God is saying. And yet they say you should not worry about your mind, just say it. No, it's not about just saying it. It's about focusing on it. It's about internalizing it. It's about repeating it till what you have there has been reprogrammed, being it transformed by the reprogramming, the retraining, the renewing of your mind. Transformation happens by retraining your mind, even from a spiritual standpoint. What can you tell men like Bishop Oyedepo that things are impossible? How will he hear it? Impossible? Do you know what heights that man has attained by faith alone? He has completely rewired his mind. Everything you see in his mind now is faith. It's faith. It's faith. You know the mysterious part? The Bible is very clear. And the just shall live by his faith. And yet we live by our mind. The mind is the system that runs the human life. The mind is the system that runs the human life. If you're not aware, know it now, have peace. Yeah, God is saying, look, you have to rewire that mind such that everything it lives, everything it responds to is faith. Can you see how much work we have to do? Oh my God. So faith is not just believing. It is training your attention to align with truth. So God may speak once to you, but your mind must echo it daily till it is retrained and programmed. Let me show you more scriptures. I've seen Romans 12:2. I've shared Joshua 1:8 for you. Proverbs 4:23. Keep thine heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Look at that. Keep your heart with all diligence. Out of it are the issues of life. Look at that. So your input determines your output. What you see is determined by what you put in there. Look at that. Philippians 4:8. Right? Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, are of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. So God is giving you a mental diet. Things that will not be an hindrance to spiritual truth and spiritual promises. Because if you leave this and you're thinking about lack, you're thinking about want, you're thinking about hatred, and rejection, you will not be able to participate in what God is planning. So it's giving you a diet on what to think on, so that you can, oh my God. My God. James 2:17. Even so, faith, if it has not worked, is dead, being alone. Being alone. And I showed you that your focus, your RAS highlights things based on your focus. And what it highlights strengthens your beliefs, which leads to your actions. So there's no way you can act except it comes from your mind. And so he's saying here, even so, faith, if it has no works, is dead, being alone. So at what point do we transform our mind to be fully faith? Because if the human lives by faith, by the mind, and God says we must live by faith, He's simply saying replace everything in your mind to become full of faith, or fill your mind with faith. The way to fill our mind with faith is to repeat the promises, internalize them, focus on them. More scriptural promises. Revelations 5:12. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing. Are you aware that the Lamb was slain to receive all these things for you? So when you wake up in the morning and you declare to yourself, Jesus was slain to receive power for me. I have access to power because my Lord gave it to me. I have access to riches, to wisdom, to strength. I'm not feeble. I'm not weak. I'm honorable. I have glory. I have blessings. And every day you are thinking about these things. You are internalizing them. What will happen to you after 1 month? Everything you'll be seeing will be just these things that Christ received for you. Isaiah 26:3. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast. Those whose mind has stayed on you because they trust in you. Look at that. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on you, are steadfast. Their minds are steadfast on Him. Their minds. So how do you experience peace? Your mind is full of God. Your mind is steadfast on God. You begin to see peace everywhere. There will be chaos, yet you are seeing peace. So don't envy believers who are experiencing these things. They've already worked on their mind. It's just you who is left. Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand. This is a promise of God. You must believe that God will strengthen you and help you. You must not fear. I will not fear. God will strengthen me. God is with me. I will not be dismayed. He is my God. This is God telling you by Himself. It's not a guesswork. You say these things. You internalize these are promises from scriptures. More promises. Isaiah 5:12. Surely, Lord, you bless the righteous. You surround them with your favor as with a shield. Wow. God surrounds me with favor. You leave your house in the morning, God, you surround me with favor. There's favor all around me. You internalize it. You focus on it. You believe it. Faith is not just mere saying words. It is internalizing what you have received from God till it becomes a part of you. That you don't even see distractions anymore. That adverse results become irrelevant to your course. Proverbs 3, verse 3 to 4. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tables of your heart. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man. Look at that. Look at that. Write them in your heart. Write them in your heart. Write them in the tables of your heart. Genesis 39 verse 21. But while Joseph was there in the prison, the Lord was with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison ward. Look at that. That even in the prison-like situation, God can still show you favor. You can put these things in your heart. These are promises of God. And the Lord said to Moses, I will do the very thing you have asked because I am pleased with you and I know you by name. Look at that. I will do what you have asked. When you ask God for something, He will do it. There's no guesswork there. You have to know this thing. Internalize them. I'm just showing you promises you can use as examples of what I'm saying. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make His face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn His face towards you and give you peace. Look at that. No guessworks here. This thing should be in you. It should be in your mind. So all those fear you have, all those worry you have is not part of the promises of God at all. At all. Men and brethren, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have to stop there today. I would have wished that we finish up. We don't have so much to cover anymore. Just want to talk about RAS and neuroplasticity, which is straightforward, something we know already. And then we'll talk about neuroplasticity and how beliefs are formed, right? Can we take the next? We have, this is 2148. Let's just do that and finish up today. And tomorrow, we use tomorrow as an individual spaces to just reflect on that which we've learned in the 2 days of the masterclass, right? Can we do that? Can we do that quickly? Can we do that? I don't think we have so many slides left, maybe about 10 slides or maybe less than that. Can we do that? Can we do that? Just 10 minutes. I'll be out of here. Can we do that? I need 2 more people. Tafana is saying yes. Let's move. Who else? Let's respond. We don't have to if you don't want to. That's fine. We can continue tomorrow. We don't have to. But there's not so much to do anymore. We're almost done. Let's continue tomorrow. Okay. Let's finish. 2 people say let's finish. 1 person say let's continue tomorrow. Yeah, we can take 10 minutes to finish, really. It's not much again. Believe me. We've been saying these things since, so it shouldn't be new anymore. Neuroplasticity. We can finish today. One more vote. Quickly. Let's finish. Tomorrow is Sunday. Okay, let's finish then. So RAS and neuroplasticity. So we know that the neuroplasticity is your brain's ability to physically change based on repeated experiences, right? Gone are the days where they said that the brain does not change. Now the brain can change, right, based on repeated actions, right? So the more you repeat something, a thought, a word, an action, the more your brain creates neural pathways that makes it easier for that thing to access. This is the process that actually creates habits, right, and also weakens them. So you can both strengthen an action or create an habit and weaken an existing habit. The way to weaken a bad habit is by creating and strengthening new ones. So these things happen through neurons in the brain, right? You can take your time to read all of that later. So the connection between the RAS and the neuroplasticity is this. The RAS decides what you notice repeatedly, right, through your focus, but neuroplasticity builds what you notice repeatedly, right, by doing something about it. So noticing or attention is one thing. Doing something about what you're noticing is another thing, and that has to now be repeated for it to become something that now stays with you, right? So in simple terms, RAS selects the signal, neuroplasticity builds the pathway, right, to your brain, right, or to your memory, whichever way you want to put it, right? So if your RAS keeps highlighting fear. Your brain wires anxiety. It's why some people have anxiety disorder, right? And the way to deal with that is just to simply retrain their unconscious mind through the RAS, right? But if your RAS keeps highlighting opportunity, your brain wires confidence, right? Um, let's go on. Now, beliefs versus neuroplasticity, right? I've said that neuroplasticity is your brain's ability to change its wiring based on your experience, repetition, and attention, right? But a belief is a stable mental pattern, right? A conclusion your brain has wired strongly enough to treat as true, right? So a belief doesn't actually have to be true. It's just that your brain has wired it enough to not believe it is true. Beliefs actually have a physical pattern in the brain, right? While neuroplasticity are just neurons within the brain, softwares, there's actually a physical pattern in your brain that form beliefs, or that signify a belief within your brain. They take a physical form. Is why it's very, very difficult, right, to deal with beliefs that people have. Very difficult, because the physical imprint in the person's brain, right? By the way, it is still neuroplasticity, right, that strengthens or creates beliefs, because the more you repeat a particular action, the more it is strengthened until it becomes a belief and makes a physical mark within the brain, right? So when something is repeated often, or emotionally intense or personally meaningful, it gets encoded into neural pathways over time. That pattern becomes a belief, right? The process that encodes it, right, in that pathway, or strengthens it in neuroplasticity. But over time, it becomes a pattern. It's now called a belief. Now, how beliefs are actually formed, we're almost done, right? Number one is experience, right, or input. So you hear, you see, or you go through something, right? Maybe somebody says you're not smart, and they've said that over and again, right? Or a failure experience happened, or you had a success moment, right? Or you hear a repeated message from authority figures, right? And number two is emotional tagging. There's an emotion like pain, fear, joy, pride, even, right? The brain says this matters, right? Store it strongly, right? It becomes a belief, rather, right? Also, beliefs happen through repetition, right? The more it happens, or the more you replay it mentally, the stronger the neural pathway becomes. Number four is pattern formation. The brain starts generalizing it, right? One failure becomes I fail at times, right? Even though it was just one failure. And then one rejection becomes people reject me, even though it was just one rejection. So imagine that a person who had one failure, right, focuses on that failure. Your RAS begins to highlight, those things around you that still reinforces your failure. And all of a sudden, even though it was just one time you failed, you conclude that you always fail. And this becomes a belief deep within you, right? So once the pattern formation is done, then the belief is formed, right? It becomes automatic. You don't even question it anymore. You act from it. You see evidences from it. That's how terrible and powerful beliefs are, right? So a simple example is this: a student struggles once in maths. If repeated, and is emotional, right? The brain wires maths it's hard, right? That wire will become a belief over time, right? And then that belief will affect his effort. He wouldn't even want to put in the effort to pass mathematics, right? And it also affects his attention, even though being taught in class, right? That's lack of interest to be there, or irrelevance, that they will show. And then of course his results. So his result simply reinforces his belief, right? So have you seen people? I'm sure you must have seen people who do not even give attention to things that are, although important, but because they've tried over and again to succeed, but it didn't work, and so they don't even give it a try anymore. That's a belief at work within them, right? There are people who have given up on relationships. They don't even want to try anymore, right? Because they've tried, and so now they feel that, look, it's not for me. And so if you bring up the issue of relationship, they don't even look at it, right? So that loop continues, right? And that is neuroplasticity in action. So belief and neuroplasticity, they are deeply intertwined, right? But the belief itself has a physical embedding within the brain, while the neuroplasticity is just neural pathways. It strengthens and also weakens neural pathway. Please go try to read up on neuroplasticity, right? You get to see how habits are actually formed through the cue, through the trigger, the cue, and the reward process. That's the process through which neuroplasticity engages to create habits within us. So that's actually going to help you. I think I also wrote that in my book, The Habit of a Genius. You can read the book to get that information if you want. So why does belief feel real? I told you that because it has a physical embedding pattern in your brain. They are not just opinions, they are well-practiced neural pathways, right? Okay, this is important. Neuroplasticity does not care whether something is true or false, or helpful or harmful. It only responds to repetition, attention, emotions. So your brain can wire truths, right, into very empowering beliefs, and it can also wire lies into limiting beliefs. Men and brethren, congratulations. You have made it to the end of this May masterclass. I believe it's been worth your time, right? Even though we planned for 3 days, but thank God we were able to finish 2 days, of course, still within the time that we planned. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. So thank you all for joining. We have just 2 minutes to the end of this class, but since we're closing today, let's take 5 minutes. I crave your indulgence. Just 5 minutes. Let's give feedbacks. The recording will be uploaded today. If I'm not able to, I'll do that on Monday, and Rachel will get it across to all of you. Right? Somebody is saying, sir, from my understanding, let's see. Okay. Thank you all for joining. God bless you. Now, sir, from my understanding of this teaching, it means our mind is the most powerful tool that God gave us. Yes, of course. Now, a person, whether a believer or unbeliever, if trained his mind to become great, live in good health, wealth, will actually experience it. Of course, please, how then does God help us, since the mind can do all? No, the mind, see, in all of this that I've said so far, right? Training your mind, right, and training the mind, of course, your conscious mind, so that the RAS can highlight things that align with your goal and that are right for you, does not necessarily guarantee success. I think it's important I place distinction there. So I think I also mentioned that the RAS does not necessarily guarantee that you will succeed. However, it can support success, right? And if this is the case, this is where the distinction is. God guarantees the success of a believer. And so our job is to train our mind, our unconscious mind, right, so that we can come to that level where we are now in partnership with what God has promised. And so as a believer, if I'm declaring and believing and analyzing God's promises for success and prosperity in this world, I know that I'm going to succeed because God had ordained it to be so. A person who doesn't know God, who doesn't hold these precious promises, may only try his luck. And of course, God is fair. As long as he's putting in the effort and he doesn't have any witchcraft from his village pursuing him, he's going to succeed. Right? It's just that he may not make heaven because he doesn't know God. But for we who know the Lord and know his promises, if we train ourselves, we are guaranteed of success. Because number one, we are training our mind to be in alignment with what God is doing. The greatest limitation of the believer is that we don't train our minds to the level at which God is working. And so even till tomorrow, God's thoughts will still be higher than our thoughts. His minds, his ways will still be higher than our ways. Right? And if God's ways are higher than man's ways, and it means, imagine where we can get to, ways far beyond what the human mind can think. We invent technologies and things that even the human mind cannot. So things that fascinate us in this world are child's play compared to what we can still do. It's just that the believer has not really invested in aligning their mind to the scriptures and promises of God and focusing on it, internalizing it, it begins to produce. Right? So man can, of course, engage his mind and do great exploits, but then we have a promise with God that assures us of success if we would push through with our mind, believing in what God is saying. So this is not trying to allow the mind to be independent. It is working with the promises, to push through to see what God is doing. I hope that's clear now, sir. Awesome. This class is for me, linking psychology with spirituality. When deliverance happens, what is delivered? I'm not sure I understand that, Doctor. Can we get the slides of this class? Oh, can you get the slide? No, you cannot get the slide, but you can get the recording. So the recording will be shared with you. That's because I'm developing a framework for this. I'm still going to edit this slide for what I'm creating, right? So this cannot be released at this point, right? I'm really sorry, but I'm going to make sure you have the videos, the recording, I'm also going to try to write a book on it. I'm not certain yet, but I'll try to write a book on it so I can all have access to the book. Okay, so I think that's all the questions that I'm seeing here. Oh, sorry, I didn't unmute your mic. Oh, forgive me. I forgot. Okay, you can unmute your mic now. We have just 2 minutes left. Oh, 2 minutes. 2 minutes of the 5 minutes. Mrs. Stella, how are you doing? Thank you for joining in.
Pastor, I have a question.
Okay, please go ahead.
Why are you laughing, Pastor? So when somebody goes for deliverance, what is delivered is the mind, or the wrath, because you said wrath is thing, right? So what is delivered when somebody's going for deliverance? You know how some people have all these things following, and they say, oh, you need deliverance because of this and that. Maybe your thought processing is not right. So you need deliverance, or from your father's house, your mother's house, or something like that. You know how we talk.
That's a whole conversation right there, because we cannot just tie that to what we've discussed tonight or the last 2 days, even though it still has a connection, right? Because now you're delivering somebody first from a stronghold, which is a force that is holding the person down. I think I've mentioned over and again in our Bible study meetings, right, that the battle that the devil fights now are in two folds. Number one is first of the mind. Right, because he has lost his access to heaven, where he accused the brethren day and night. And so the battles he fights now are battles of the mind. If he wins you in the mind, then he can penetrate, into your life and cause havoc. And so if you're able to pull down imaginations, casting down all those strongholds, then you'll be able to live life free of Satan's oppression. Right. So the greatest deliverance that the believer needs will be deliverance of the mindset. If he's able to walk in the light of scriptures, right, internalizing the scriptures and walking in that path, then he'll be free from Satan's oppression, right? But then again, if a spirit is cast out of a person, that's too is a level of deliverance, but that's not all, because even the Bible tells us very clearly that if a spirit is cast out of its house and it goes and comes back and sees that the house is empty. So what makes a house empty is when you've not filled that mind or that heart with the word of God. You see, because spirit responds to spirit. God's word is a spirit. So it is spirit aligning with our humanity, our mind, to influence the result that we get in this world. Right? So when a person is delivered, number one, he can be delivered from the spirit, the stronghold that is holding him down. And number two, he must also go ahead to now be delivered in the mind, which is now where we internalize scriptures, the promises of God, right? To know how to respond and react to situations when they come back again, because they will surely come back to see if the house is empty. That house is the mind or the heart, like some of you would like to put it. I believe that's manageable, because we really cannot go deeper, but more than that, because of time. Oh, God of mercy, we have to close. Sorry, we have to close. Stella, do you have what do you have to say to us? We always love to have you around.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me around. I'm very grateful and happy that I came. Incidentally, Coach Irene spoke about this very topic last week
Wow.
in the discernment
Wow.
class. So it's definitely very timely. And God speaks once, you hear it twice, but now he's spoken twice, so I'm hearing it 4 times.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I'm excited about it, and thank you for the tools to navigate this season. God bless you so much.
Thank you, thank you. We're getting set for PDI next week. I believe it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great time. Oh, by the way, if you're here, you'd like to be part of the ongoing training. It's a 1 year training at Personal Development Institute. I encourage you to register. Rachel would share the link to every one of you to be part of that. We're currently having a discernment course. It's important that we are able to discern the times and seasons and know exactly where we ought to be per time and what we ought to be doing. There's a standard, there's a blueprint that has been designed by God Himself that we have to work in. But unfortunately, the times and seasons are kind of confusing people, and that's not very nice. And so we have to be very much aware of this thing called discernment and know how to navigate it. So just in case you want to be part of that, reach out to Rachel. I should let you have the link to register. Registration is still very much on. You can still join in. It's a 1 year long course, and it will be a blessing to you. Okay, so we have to close. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Recordings will be shared later. The links will be shared to you. God bless you. See you during Bible study on Monday.